Have you ever wondered about the hidden stories of slavery that history books often silence? Most of the time, when people talk about the transatlantic slave trade, they mention chains, ships, and fields of labor. But there is a much darker, more personal, and more devastating truth that was just as powerful as the whips and chains. A truth that shaped families, destroyed identities, and left scars that still live inside communities today. I'm talking about the sexual exploitation of enslaved people, men, women, and even children, and how it was not just an accident of cruelty, but a calculated tool used by slaveholders to gain wealth, power, and control. This is a history many people never hear about, but it is one that explains so much about the world we live in today. Before we dive deeper into this story, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We share hidden truths of the past that help you understand the present. By subscribing, you join a community that refuses to let history stay buried. So click that button, because this story you're about to hear is one that everyone needs to know. When we think of slavery, we often imagine forced labor, people working in fields from sunrise to sunset. But enslavement was not only about labor. It was also about total ownership of the human body. Slaveholders believed they had the right to control every single part of an enslaved person's life, including their most private and sacred parts, their sexuality, their ability to love, their right to form families, and even their ability to say no. Imagine living in a world where your body was never yours, where your consent did not exist. That was the daily reality for millions of enslaved Africans in the New World. This sexual exploitation was not random. It was not just the result of lust. It was a system designed to benefit slaveholders in many ways. One way was through forced reproduction. Enslaved women were often raped by their masters, overseers, or even other enslaved men forced into breeding situations, because children born into slavery automatically became the property of the slaveholder. That means every child born increased the wealth of the owner. For them, reproduction was like a machine, a factory of human bodies. For the enslaved, it was a nightmare where even the gift of giving birth was turned into a tool of oppression. And it was not only women who suffered. Enslaved men were also victims of sexual violence, though their stories are less often told. Men could be raped, humiliated, and used as tools to breed. They could be forced to perform acts in front of others, stripping away their dignity and identity. This was not only abuse of the body, it was psychological torture, meant to break spirits and destroy the idea of manhood in the enslaved. Let's pause here for a moment. Think about this. While some history books tell us slavery was mainly about work, behind the scenes there was an entire hidden economy built on sexual exploitation. Every assault, every forced pregnancy, every silenced cry added wealth to the oppressors and built generations of trauma for the oppressed. If you're finding this eye-opening, don't forget to subscribe. It helps this channel keep bringing the truth to light and reminding the world that these stories matter. Now, the abuse was not only about making money. It was also about power and control. Slaveholders knew that by violating enslaved people in the most intimate ways, they could send a clear message: I own you completely. I own your body, your choices, and even your future. This was a way to keep people fearful, divided, and dependent. Families were torn apart. Mothers could not protect their daughters. Husbands could not protect their wives. Fathers could not even protect their sons. That sense of helplessness was part of the design. It was psychological warfare, making resistance feel impossible. Another lasting effect of this sexual exploitation was the rise of mixed-race populations. Children born from rape were living reminders of the violence. Some of these children were enslaved, others were given special status, and a few were even recognized as heirs. But most of the time, these children lived caught between two worlds, never fully belonging to either. Their existence was used by society to build stereotypes, myths about black people's sexuality, myths about submission, myths about worth, that still poison the world today. And here is something that may shock you even more: the law supported all of this. Legal systems in the New World made sure enslaved people had no rights over their bodies. Rape of an enslaved woman was not even recognized as a crime, because she was not seen as a woman in the eyes of the law, she was seen as property. Her pain, her tears, her screams were legally invisible. Enslaved men had no protection either, because their suffering was considered irrelevant. The entire structure of society, from judges to lawmakers to sheriffs, worked hand in hand with the slaveholders, making sure exploitation continued without punishment. And because of this, the the trauma passed down through generations. Families learned to live with broken structures. Many people grew up not even knowing who their father was, because their mother was forced and violated. That loss of family roots created a deep wound. It planted seeds of mistrust, shame, and silence that carried on long after slavery was legally ended. When you look at the struggles faced by Black communities today, broken family systems, harmful stereotypes about sexuality, and even issues around mental health, you can see the echoes of this dark past. The abuse was not just in the moment. It was a weapon that has continued to shape lives for centuries. Now let me ask you, how many times have you heard this side of the story told in school? How often do we talk about the sexual violence of slavery in mainstream history books or documentaries? The truth is, most people never hear about it. It is hidden away, because it makes society uncomfortable. But if we want to understand the present, we cannot run from the past. We must face it. We must speak it. If you're still with me, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Stories like this are heavy, but they are necessary. By subscribing, you make sure more people hear the truth and learn the lessons history tried to erase. Now, let's go even deeper. Think of the psychological games this system played. Imagine being a mother, forced to give birth to a child you did not choose to conceive. You love your baby, but you know that at any moment that child can be sold away, taken from your arms forever. Imagine being a father, stripped of your role, unable to protect your family, mocked for your helplessness. Imagine being a child, growing up in a world where your very existence is tied to violence, and people look at you with assumptions and judgments before you even understand who you are. This cycle of abuse did not end when slavery was abolished. After emancipation, stereotypes continued. Black women were often labeled as hypersexual, a myth born from centuries of abuse. Black men were painted as threats, a myth born from fears of revenge and projection of guilt. These harmful images shaped laws, culture, and even modern media. They are why, even today, people of African descent face prejudice tied to their bodies, their families, and their identities. But here is the important part: knowing this history is not about staying in pain. It is about healing. It is about breaking the silence. It is about naming what happened so that the trauma can finally be addressed. When we speak the truth, we take away the power of lies. When we face the darkness, we can finally bring light. And so, if there is one thing you take away from this story, let it be this: slavery was not only about chains on hands and feet. It was also about chains on the soul, chains built through sexual violence, humiliation, and exploitation. Those chains still rattle today, but by knowing the truth, we can begin to break them. Before we close, I want to encourage you again: subscribe to this channel. Share this video with others. Leave a comment with your thoughts, because conversations like this matter. The more we speak, the more we understand. The more we understand, the closer we come to justice. Thank you for staying with me through this difficult but necessary journey. Remember, history is not just about the past, it is alive in the present. And only by uncovering the hidden truths can we build a better future. Until next time, stay curious, stay strong, and never stop searching for the truth.